Que pause YouTube, 6foot hacks here. Have for you guys today a pretty good NU Wi-Fi battle I had against Sharpedo43 off of my Discord. Of course, if you guys do enjoy the awesome battle, make sure to hammer that like button down below. Also, if you guys may have missed my first upload, which was a Pokemon 4 Glory video, for those of you who follow me on that league, then I ended up making some transactions. Check that out and find out some of the new team members of the Durham Dredagon. So, going into this battle, Nasty Room Cofagrigus with Specs Meloetta is absolutely terrifying to battle once I weaken the Seismitoad and the Cofagrigus, so that's definitely what I'm going to try and aim for. As I end up leading off with my Specs Rotom, he's going to be leading off with what turns out to be Scarfed, Alolan Persian, and Archeops. So turn 1, he switches in Seismitoad on my Rotom-O, and I did not think he would be insane enough to do that. Then again, I've battled Sharpedo before, and he's made some crazy plays, so I probably should have expected that if I was locked into the Volt Switch with my Rotom, so that was a pretty good play on his Steelix. As it turns out that this Whimsicott is sub Leech Seed, and that is actually really annoying, mainly because it can just stall out my team to an extent, so I have to go ahead and break the substitute right away, because plus after breaking the substitute, there's a good chance that he's not going to want to stay in, knowing that I do have the Gyro Ball, so I could potentially just straight knock out the Whimsicott. So expecting him to either hard switch or go for the U-turn as he does here, I'm actually going to take this chance to go ahead and get on my Stealth Rocks. Because he has Scarfed Braviary, I highly doubt that he has the Defog. Although I guess that wouldn't be entirely too weird. Like Scarf, Defog, Braviary could maybe be a set, but it's not something I typically see. So I knew he was going to switch out here as I'm going to get up my Stealth Rocks. He is going to end up bringing in the Seismitoad, which I could have easily gone for the Toxic, but Rocks are definitely going to be important in this battle to not only wear down the Braviary, I can also wear down the Cofagrigus and the Vikavolt. I'm not entirely too concerned about Vikavolt, honestly, but it could maybe be a little bit of a nuisance. As I switch directly into my Rotom here, I really lose nothing by just going for the Specs Leaf Storm. Going for Volt Switch did cross my mind, but I didn't want him to make another insane play and stay in with Seismitoad. So I do just end up going for the Leaf Storm, as I'm going to do a solid amount of damage to the incoming Whimsicott. Because I am Specs and not Scarfed, this Whimsicott could easily outspeed me here and just go for the Moonblast, potentially knock me out, or go for the U-turn. So I'm actually going to switch into my substitute, which actually isn't entirely too bad, because if he's got Moonblast as his ability to go ahead and get up a layer of spikes, and getting up that layer of spikes is going to be and extra chip damage on the Seismitoad, which his Seismitoad is the only thing he has that can switch into my Emboar. So once Seismitoad is weakened enough, it's going to be in range of where it's not going to safely switch in to 2 Scarfed Reckless Flare Blitz coming from my Emboar. So I'm going to switch here back into my Steel Possible, because this is my best answer to a potential Specs Meloetta, and this is also my best answer to deal with the Braviary, considering that I do have Intimidate on my Qwilfish, which is just going to activate Braviary's Defiant. But I do have the Rocky Helmet on Qwilfish, so I could definitely use that to my advantage later in this game. So I do end up breaking the sub here, as he's going to go for the Leech Seed if I'm not mistaken. Gyro Ball unfortunately only has 6 PP at this point, but it looks like he's not going to be able to potentially stall me out of all my Gyro Balls, so it's going to be a huge plus for me in this game. Plus, at this point, he's not going to want to risk losing his Whimsicott, considering that he can easily save it for Deathfall, expecting him to either want to switch out into the Cofagrigus or the Seismitoad. What I'm going to do here is actually go for the Toxic. Toxic covered him switching into those 2 Mons. It also punished the Cofagrigus if it was a Nasty Room Trick Room set. So that could get worn down by the entry hazards and by the Toxic, and kind of nullify a bit of the HP. So he does end up switching into the Cofagrigus, which is really good for me, as it turns out that he actually is going to have the Leftovers, which I found to be a little bit odd. That means that he most likely is not a Nasty Room Cofagrigus set, and most likely is like a max defense, max HP set about potentially putting in work towards my team. So Toxic is going to rack up on him if he really wants to stay in here, which I'm perfectly fine with. There's no way I'm going to leave in my Steelix here. I can literally do nothing to the Cofagrigus Cofagrigus, so I'm going to switch directly into my Persian board, predicting the Flare Blitz, which is actually a really good play on his part. But by bringing in my Alolan Persian here, I was hoping to maybe scare him out or have him thinking that I was going to go for the taunt. But by going for the parting shot, I do get him at -1 special attack. So we're going to go straight for the knockoff. Then again, even if he does go for the knockoff, that's going to be kind of good for me because I can then switch up moves on the incoming Seismitoad. So I want to find out if that Toad is a more defensive set or a more tankish set with like max HP and max special attack. So I am just going to go for the very safe Flare Blitz here. The thought of doubling out into Rotom definitely did cross my mind, and I guess in hindsight that wouldn't have been entirely too bad of a play, but I'm still able to get off a solid like 15% on this Seismitoad, putting him closer into range of where he's not going to switch in to 2 Flare Blitzes coming from Emboar. So I'm going to switch out here into my Rotom mode, expecting him to either want to go for the Scald or maybe go for the knockoff or Toxic, which I can easily take a knockoff. He then knocks off my Specs, and then I can freely switch up moves, which would have been pretty good for me, as he actually ends up going for the Toxic. That at all is not a bad play for him to have done there, because now he's going to be able to wear down my Rotom, and I think after this next turn, I'm going to be in range of where rocks are going to knock me out anyways. But much like earlier, I just click Leaf Storm here, and something is going to take a whole lot of damage as in comes the Vikavolt. I'm actually a little bit surprised that it lived the Leaf Storm. This is probably like a max HP variant. I'm not really sure what Vikavolt carries in the NU tier, to be honest with you guys. But either way, I know for a fact I can outspeed him, so I'm going to be able to pick him off with my next Leaf Storm, because as I mentioned, I was probably in range of Stealth Rock, so there's really no reason for me to have saved down. I am going to expect them to either want to bring in the Whimsicott or bring in his Braviary. If he does bring in the Whimsicott, I can chew 1 Moonblast, and even if he does put me in Defeatist range, I'm still going to be able to knock him out with the Acrobatics. As he does end up bringing in the Braviary, I know I can live any one hit after Stealth Rocks, and he doesn't put me in Defeatist range, which is really good because this is going to allow me to go for the Acrobatics. I'm really happy I didn't, because well, I guess even if I missed, it wouldn't have mattered. But by going for the Acrobatics, if he had switched into his Cofagrigus, he would have given me his Mummy ability, getting rid of my Defeatist, which means when I get brought down to 50% HP or below, my attack is not going to be halved. And I make a really bad play here, power, or that he was going to switch out, thinking I would just switch into my Qwilfish, predicting him to go for Superpower, and then that way I could have got off the chip damage with the Rocky Helmet. But as I bring in my Emboar, he is at -1 attack and -1, say that correctly. But even if he had brought in the Cofagrigus, I'm pretty sure after he gave me his Mummy, 2 Flare Blitzes with Spikes and Rocks and Toxic damage would have been able to 2 KO the Cofagrigus. So he decides to just sack off his Whimsicott, which is perfectly fine by me, because at this point, his last put this Braviary in range of where he can knock himself out with the Brave Bird recoil in range of where rocks are going to knock him out. That's actually why I switched into my Qwilfish here, because if he had Brave Birded, the Brave Bird damage plus the Rocky Helmet damage would have taken him out. Or I'm able to really matter what he brings in at this point, because I'm pretty sure this Meloetta is not Scarfed, and then I can bring in Emboar, click Flare Blitz, and that's basically going to be the game, because typically you don't see dual Scarfers on a team. But then it turns out he has Relic Song Meloetta. And I was not expecting that. I am not lying to you guys when I tell you I have not faced a single Relic Song Meloetta in any. I lose. Scarfed Emboar doesn't outspeed it, as you see. I can't chew a close combat with my Persian, and my last Pokemon is Steelix. This Meloetta has. I played this whole game as if that Meloetta was Specs or Subcom Mind, and the for a loop there, and Sharpedo is gonna snatch this. I really did not think that was gonna be Pirouette form. Like, it crossed my mind, but like I said, I've never seen a Meloetta with a Relic Song in NU. So yeah, surprising things just kind of catch me off guard, I guess. So yeah, there's a good loss for you guys. I know some of you have been commenting lately saying, well, I haven't uploaded, a good loss, but this was a good battle. Like, win or lose, this was a good battle either way. So again, good game to Sharpedo. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the awesome battle. Make sure to hammer that like button down below. Tomorrow will be the team builder for week 3, and then week 3 battle will be going up on Saturday. So yeah guys, thank you for watching. See y'all later.
Cause my brain and heart are both tied in a knot, and this hinders me from crying a lot. This causing me to show no emotion. But when I said I cared, I wasn't joking. But I guess it's too late for me to become broken. For now, I'm living with no more pain, tears, or hoping. I'm just coasting. Yeah, I said I'm coasting. No more pain, tears,